You could say the exact same words as someone else and still get treated like you do not matter. That difference has nothing to do with your voice. It has nothing to do with your degree. It has nothing to do with your face. It comes down to one thing only: the psychological signals you send out. If you have ever swallowed your anger and smiled, if you have ever said it is fine when it was not, then every single word here is for you. Right now we are breaking down 3 traits. These are the traits people who get dismissed share. Then we are unlocking a technique. A technique that shifts how people treat you. It works in a single moment. Those nights where you stared at the ceiling. Those nights replaying what you should have said. Those nights are about to become a thing of the past. Think about this for a second. Your coworker Jake takes your idea in a meeting. He presents it like it came from his own brain. What did you do when that happened? Or your friend cancels plans on you again. You texted back, "No worries next time, right?" Most people just let these moments slide by. They tell themselves it is not a big deal. They say they do not want to seem dramatic. They convince themselves it is not worth the energy. But here is where it gets dangerous. It does not stop at one time. It happens tomorrow and the day after that. Then the day after that one too. Before you know it, you are the person in every room. The person everyone feels comfortable overlooking. The person nobody takes quite seriously enough. This is not random and it is not bad luck. This is a pattern and it has a name. In psychology, there is a concept called reinforcement theory. When someone does something and gets no pushback, their brain registers that behavior as acceptable. Let me put that in plain terms for you. The more you tolerate, the more they push. They push further every single time. This is not because they are terrible people. This is how every human brain is wired to work. When there is zero resistance, the behavior continues. It continues in the exact same way over and over. Experimental psychology calls this extinction resistance. Once a behavior pattern is established, it gets stronger. It gets stronger with every single repetition. Breaking that pattern requires a clear signal. Someone has to send that signal to the other person. That someone is you and only you. Nobody else can do this job in your place. Nobody else even knows it needs to be done. So let us talk about the first shared trait. People who get dismissed do this one thing constantly. They respond to boundary violations with a smile. Someone makes a joke at their expense and they laugh. Someone asks an intrusive question and they answer it. Someone drops an unreasonable request and they accept it. Every single one of these reactions sends a message. That message is loud and unmistakable. It says, "I am okay with this, so keep going." It says, "You can do this to me whenever you want." It says, "My comfort does not matter to me either." Here is the part that should shake you a little. Over time, you start to believe your own signal. You start to genuinely feel like you deserve this. You start to think this is just how life works. Your self-worth does not crumble from the outside first. It crumbles from the signals you send to yourself. Every time you laugh off disrespect, you are telling yourself. You are telling yourself that you are not worth defending. That thought becomes a belief over weeks and months. That belief becomes your identity over years. Ask most people where respect is supposed to come from. They will say it should come from other people first. That answer is completely wrong. Respect starts with how you treat yourself every day. When you protect your own boundaries, something shifts. The other person suddenly recognizes those boundaries exist. They feel the edge and they adjust their behavior. But when you allow people to treat you carelessly, they will take that as their permanent permission slip. I know this sounds harsh when you first hear it, but it is actually the most hopeful thing I can say. It means you do not have to wait for anyone else to change. It means the power is already sitting in your hands. You change first and the relationship has to follow. Now let us move to the second shared trait. People who get overlooked do something that sounds noble. They manage the other person's emotions before their own. You might be thinking that sounds like compassion. You might even think it is a sign of emotional maturity. In small doses, you would be absolutely right about that. A little consideration makes relationships warmer and kinder. But when it becomes an automatic reflex every single time, when you cannot stop yourself from doing it constantly, it is no longer compassion driving that behavior. It is fear wearing a very convincing disguise. You are afraid the other person will feel uncomfortable. You are afraid the mood in the room will get tense. You are afraid they will stop liking you altogether. That fear puts on a mask and calls itself kindness. But underneath it is still just fear running the show. Think about a real situation you have been in. Your boss dumps a task on you that is not your job. Inside your head you are screaming, "This is not fair." But your mouth says, "Sure, no problem, I will handle it." Why did you say that instead of what you felt? Because you were afraid your boss would be annoyed. Because you did not want things to feel weird after. Because you thought it might damage the relationship. So you processed their emotions before your own. You made sure they felt comfortable and okay. And your own feelings just got shoved into a corner. But those feelings do not disappear when you ignore them. They stack up like boxes in a storage unit. Eventually that storage unit runs completely out of room. Then those feelings explode in the worst possible places. You snap at your best friend for no real reason. You come home and bury yourself under the blankets. You lay there asking yourself why you acted that way. You have done this before and you know exactly what I mean. That explosion is your suppressed emotions finding an exit. They will always find an exit one way or another. If they do not come out sideways at innocent people, they turn inward and start eating at your self-worth. Either way, you are the one who pays the highest price. Now the third shared trait is about space itself. I do not just mean physical space in a room. I mean the space to speak in a conversation. The space to share your opinion without shrinking. The space to express what you are actually feeling. Watch someone who gets dismissed in a group setting. Their body gets smaller as the conversation goes on. Their shoulders round forward little by little. Their voice drops to barely above a whisper. Their eyes start avoiding direct contact with anyone. When they do share a thought, they undercut it immediately. They say something like, "Well, I might be wrong, but..." Or they say, "This probably sounds stupid, however." They are dismantling their own words before anyone else can. They are telling the room this opinion does not matter much. By the time the words leave their mouth, the damage is done. The room has already decided to half listen at best. And the person never even gets a fair chance to land. This is not just a social quirk or personality thing. Research from a Harvard psychologist named Dr. Rachel Whitfield. Her work showed something that changes everything. Body posture is not just about how you look to others. It actually changes the chemistry inside your brain. When you hold an expansive, confident posture for 2 minutes, the hormone linked to confidence rises by 20%. The stress hormone drops by 25% at the same time. These are not small changes in your body chemistry. They are significant enough to alter how you feel inside. Now flip that around and think about the opposite posture. When you make yourself small, your brain gets a signal. That signal tells your brain you are weak and vulnerable. Your brain then produces chemistry that matches that message. You feel less confident because your body told your brain to. Then that low confidence shows up in your next action. Your next action reinforces the small posture even further. This is a vicious cycle that feeds itself endlessly. Your posture shapes your psychology every single minute. Your psychology shapes your posture right back constantly. And other people are reading all of this without knowing it. When someone looks physically small in a room, people notice. They do not consciously decide to pay less attention to them. Their brains just automatically assign less importance to them. This is not cruelty, and it is not a character flaw. It is how human brains evolved to process social signals. We are wired to read nonverbal cues before anything else. Those cues tell us who to take seriously in a group. Those cues tell us who is confident and who is not. All of this happens in milliseconds without any conscious thought. So take a moment right now to think honestly about this. Out of those 3 traits, which one hit closest to home? I am guessing at least one of them made you uncomfortable. That discomfort is not something to run away from. That discomfort is a signal that you are ready to grow. Recognizing the problem is where all change begins every time. A lot of people already know they have these patterns. They have known about them for months or even years. But knowing is not the same thing as doing something about it. They try to change and it feels awkward and unnatural. So they slide right back into their old comfortable habits. The old habits feel safe even though they cause pain. That is why I am going to give you something practical now. These are 3 specific techniques you can use immediately. You do not need to wait until next week to start. You do not need to buy anything or learn a new skill first. You do not need anyone else's permission or cooperation. The only thing you need is one conscious decision right now. The decision to choose differently starting from this moment. That single decision is the foundation for everything else. The first technique is the power of deliberate silence. Picture this situation because it happens all the time. Someone says something rude or crosses a clear line with you. Most people react in one of 2 predictable ways instantly. They either get flustered and blurt out an awkward response, or they laugh it off and pretend it did not bother them. Both of these reactions send the exact same signal to the other person. That signal says this person is safe to push around freely. Instead of doing either of those, try something completely different. Look them directly in the eyes for 3 full seconds. Do not say a single word during those 3 seconds. Keep your expression calm and completely neutral the whole time. You do not need to look angry or aggressive at all. Just hold steady eye contact in total quiet stillness. This works because of something powerful in human psychology. Silence forces the other person to replay what they just said. Their own brain starts reviewing their words automatically. They begin to wonder if they went too far this time. That moment of self-awareness is incredibly powerful and rare. You created it without raising your voice even slightly. You created it without saying a single harsh word to them. You created it with nothing but your calm, steady presence. Communication research has confirmed this over and over again. Silence carries a stronger message than most words ever could. We tend to think that talking more gives us more power. But the truth is the opposite of that assumption. People who speak less often carry far more presence in a room. The person who is uncomfortable with silence is usually the weaker position. When you refuse to be the one who breaks that silence first, the entire dynamic of the conversation shifts in your favor. I will be honest with you about something important though. The first time you do this, it will feel extremely strange. 3 seconds of silence will feel like 3 full minutes. Your heart might race and your palms might get sweaty. Every instinct will scream at you to say something, anything. But you are not the only one feeling that discomfort, remember. The other person feels it just as strongly as you do. That shared discomfort is your boundary activating in real time. That is what it feels like when a line is being drawn. Surviving that moment is the entire exercise right there. The first time you might only manage 1 second of silence. That is completely fine and it still counts as progress. The next time you might hold it for 2 seconds instead. Eventually 3 seconds will feel natural and effortless to you. And that naturalness becomes a quiet power that others can feel. They sense it even if they cannot name what changed about you. The second technique is about changing your language patterns. There is one specific habit you need to eliminate starting today. That habit is the reflexive, unnecessary apology before speaking. I am sorry, but I actually think we should consider this. Well, I could be wrong, but maybe we might want to try. I do not know if this makes sense, but I feel like maybe. Every one of those phrases does the same destructive thing. It removes all authority from whatever you say next, before your actual point even reaches the other person's ears. Their brain has already classified you as uncertain and weak. Their brain made that judgment in less than half a second. And once that classification is made, your words get discounted. It does not matter how brilliant your actual idea might be. The opening already told their brain not to take it seriously. So instead of leading with an apology, try a direct statement. Replace I am sorry, but I disagree with something stronger. Say my perspective on this is different and here is why. Replace I might be wrong, but with let me share my take. Replace sorry, can I say something with I want to add this. These changes look small when you read them on a screen. But in real conversation they create an enormous shift. Psychology tells us language is not just a communication tool. Language is a direct expression of your identity and self-image. The words you choose shape how you see yourself every day. They also shape how every person around you sees you too. When you strip the defensive padding from your language, something happens. Your presence in the room naturally begins to expand outward. People start listening to you with a different level of attention. They start treating your contributions as things worth considering. I know what some of you might be worried about right now. You are thinking that speaking directly might come off as harsh. You are worried people will think you are being rude or cold. But here is what actually happens when you try it in real life. Speaking without unnecessary apologies sounds more clear, not more mean. It comes across as trustworthy and grounded, not aggressive. There is a massive difference between being direct and being cruel. You can absolutely be warm and direct at the same time together. Keep your voice soft and your tone gentle when you speak. But do not wobble on the substance of what you are saying. That combination is what real confident communication sounds like. Soft in delivery but solid in content every single time. That is how people who command natural respect actually talk. They do not yell or intimidate or dominate the conversation. They simply say what they mean and then they let it stand. Good communication and bad communication is not about the words. It is about whether those words are delivered with conviction. The same sentence said with confidence lands completely differently than the same sentence said with doubt and hesitation attached. The third technique is about physically reclaiming your space. Remember the research from Dr. Rachel Whitfield I mentioned earlier. Here is how you actually apply it in your daily life. Before any important conversation or meeting, do this simple thing. Find a private spot, even a bathroom stall works perfectly fine. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart and hands on your hips. Or spread your arms wide and take up as much space as you can. Hold this position for just 2 minutes before you walk in. Nobody needs to see you do this for it to work properly. The science shows your hormone levels actually shift during this. Your confidence chemistry goes up measurably in just 2 minutes. Your stress chemistry goes down measurably in that same window. This is not a metaphor and it is not a visualization exercise. This is your body physically changing your brain chemistry with posture. When you walk into that room afterward, something is different. Your shoulders are naturally more open without you forcing it. Your voice has a steadiness that was not there 10 minutes ago. Your eyes find it easier to meet other people's eyes directly. And every person in that room picks up on these changes immediately. They might not be able to explain what is different about you today, but they feel it in the way they respond and engage with you. They give your words more weight without even realizing they are doing it. They make more room for you in the conversation naturally. This is because you are now sending different nonverbal signals. Those signals say this person knows their own value and place. Those signals say this person is not going to shrink for anyone. During the conversation itself, there is one more critical thing to remember. After you say something, do not immediately undermine your own words. Do not follow up with "Does that make sense?" or "Am I being weird?" Do not ask "Right" or "I do not know, is that just me though?" When you finish making your point, let the silence sit there. Let your words exist in the room on their own without your help. Your words do not need you to babysit them after they are spoken. If you start second-guessing yourself, the other person will too. If you stand behind what you said, the other person has to reckon with it. They have to take it seriously because you clearly take it seriously. What you believe about your own words teaches everyone else what to believe. These three techniques share something important in common with each other. None of them require any special preparation or expensive training. None of them require you to become a different person overnight. All of them start from the same place, which is your psychological boundary. A boundary is not a cold hard wall between you and other people. A boundary is simply a clear statement about how you expect to be treated. It is self-awareness turned into visible, consistent action over time. Not through dramatic speeches or angry confrontations with anyone, but through your attitude, your reactions, and your moment-to-moment choices. People with clear boundaries actually create warmer relationships overall. This sounds contradictory, but it makes perfect sense when you think about it. When both people know where the lines are, they can relax completely. They do not have to guess what is okay and what will cause a problem. They do not have to walk on eggshells around each other constantly. That clarity creates genuine comfort between two people over time. A well-known psychologist named Dr. Samantha Greenfield said this perfectly. She said clarity is kindness in every relationship that matters. Being vague might seem more gentle and considerate on the surface. But over the long run, clarity builds healthier, stronger connections. When you express a boundary, you are not being selfish at all. You are actually doing the most loving thing for the relationship. You are giving it the structure it needs to survive and grow. Relationships without boundaries look easy at first glance from outside. But eventually one person carries too much weight and collapses entirely. Relationships with boundaries might feel slightly formal at the start. But they last because both people feel genuinely respected in them. Both people get to show up as themselves without resentment building. Both people know the other person chose to be there honestly. That is what real respect between two humans actually looks like. Maybe you are sitting there right now thinking something specific. Maybe you are thinking, this just is not who I am as a person. Maybe you are thinking it would feel too weird and fake to try. I completely understand that reaction, and it makes total sense. The first time will absolutely feel awkward and uncomfortable for you. But that awkwardness is not evidence that you are doing it wrong. That awkwardness is evidence that you are breaking an old pattern. Your brain has been running the same program for years or decades. When you try to install a new program, it resists the update. That resistance feels like awkwardness and discomfort and self-doubt. Neuroscience tells us that changing a habit requires repetition above all. You do not need to be perfect at this on your very first attempt. You just need to try once today and once again tomorrow morning. Then once more the day after that and the day after that one. Each repetition builds a slightly stronger neural pathway in your brain. Eventually the new way starts to feel more natural than the old way. One day you will notice something remarkable has happened to you. You will feel the old urge to laugh off something disrespectful. You will feel the pull to apologize before sharing your real opinion. You will notice yourself starting to physically shrink in your seat. But instead of following that urge automatically like you always did, you will pause for just a fraction of a second before reacting. That pause is everything, and I mean absolutely everything right there. That tiny pause is the moment where your new self takes over. That is where conscious choice replaces unconscious habit permanently. And I want you to be prepared for something that will definitely happen. The people around you are going to be confused at first by this. They might say something like, "What has gotten into you lately?" They might seem annoyed or thrown off by your new responses. This is completely normal, and you should expect it to happen. These people have years of experience with the old version of you. They have built their entire approach to you around that old version. When you change the equation, they have to recalculate everything. That recalculation feels uncomfortable for them, just like it does for you. But that discomfort is the relationship resetting itself in real time. It is finding a new, healthier balance that works for both of you. You need to hold steady through that uncomfortable transition period. Do not panic and revert back to the old pattern to ease the tension. The tension is temporary, but the new dynamic can be permanent. Every single relationship you have can be reset no matter how old. A relationship that has existed for 10 years can still be changed. A relationship that has existed for 20 years can still evolve. When you show up differently, people have to respond differently to you. If they adjust and meet you in this new, healthier space, that is wonderful. The relationship becomes stronger and more honest than it ever was before. If they refuse to adjust and insist on the old dynamic, that tells you something. It tells you that relationship was built on your self-sacrifice, not mutual respect. It tells you that relationship needed you to be small to function at all. And a relationship that needs you to be small is not one you need to keep. Letting go of that kind of relationship is not a loss in your life. It is making room for connections that actually honor who you really are. So let me bring everything together for you right here clearly. Being dismissed is not about lacking talent or intelligence or charm. It is entirely about the signals you are sending out into the world. The signals you send yourself about your own worth and value matter. The signals you send others about how they can treat you matter equally. Change those signals and you change every relationship you are in. When someone crosses a line, give them silence instead of nervous laughter. When you want to share your perspective, drop the automatic apology first. When you walk into a room, stand tall and claim the space you deserve. These 3 shifts alone will change how people experience your presence. You do not need to transform into a completely different human being today. You do not need to overhaul every relationship by this time next week. Pick one single technique from what you just learned right now. Use it once today in any interaction that gives you the opportunity. That one small moment of choosing differently will plant a seed inside you. That seed will grow into something you cannot even imagine yet from here. When you try to be the nice one for everyone without exception, you end up becoming the person nobody thinks they need to respect. It is time to stop performing kindness at the expense of your dignity. It is time to start building the kind of quiet, unshakable self-respect. The kind that does not need to announce itself to fill a room completely. The kind that people feel the moment you walk through the door silently. You do not become less kind by having boundaries around your kindness. You become the kind of person whose kindness actually means something real. Because it is given by choice, not extracted by pressure or guilt or fear. That is the difference between being generous and being taken advantage of. One fills you up and the other slowly drains you until nothing is left. Choose to be someone who gives from fullness, not from obligation anymore. Choose to be someone who respects themselves first before asking others to. That choice right there is the foundation of every good relationship you will ever have. Psychology research has consistently shown one fascinating finding about intentions. When you put an intention into words, it becomes significantly more likely to happen. A thought that stays inside your head has very little power to create real change. But a thought that gets spoken or written down activates something different entirely. It engages commitment mechanisms in your brain that silent thoughts simply cannot reach. So if anything here resonated with what you have been experiencing in your life, take a moment right now and say these words out loud to yourself quietly. I respect myself first before I ask anyone else to respect me today. That single sentence carries more weight than you might think it does right now. It is a declaration and a promise and a turning point all wrapped into one. Your brain hears it and starts reorganizing priorities around that new statement. Your behavior tomorrow will be slightly different because of what you just said today. And the people around you will start to feel that difference without being told about it. This is not magic, and it is not wishful thinking or empty motivation. This is psychology working exactly the way decades of research said it would. You deserve to walk through your life being treated with genuine respect everywhere. Not because you demanded it loudly or fought for it aggressively with everyone, but because you carried yourself in a way that made disrespect feel impossible around you. That version of you already exists inside you, waiting to step forward into the light. All it needs is your permission and your willingness to feel uncomfortable for a little while. The discomfort passes, but the respect you build for yourself lasts a lifetime and beyond.